Okay, this video is about expanding double brackets, as you can see in the title. Okay, let's go straight into an example and we'll see what I mean by expanding double brackets. Okay, so yeah, keyword expand or multiply out. Okay, so this is the type of thing I'm talking about. X plus 1 multiplied by x plus 2. So a nice straightforward example to start off with. So we've got a double set of brackets here, and like before when we expanded a single bracket, anything outside a bracket, so if we had 7, 2x plus 3, anything outside the bracket is multiplied by what's inside. So that would be 7 times 2x, which would be 14x, and 7 times plus 3, which would be 21. So that's what would be the answer after we expanded that single bracket. So in the same way, everything outside this x plus 2 bracket, everything outside this bracket, which is x plus 1, must be multiplied by everything inside it. So the x and the 1 must multiply the x and the plus 2. Okay, so how do we do that? There's a couple of ways of looking at it. Okay, so if we just think about what I just said, everything in this bracket must multiply by everything in this bracket. So what we can do is break this up, okay, into x, and that has to multiply by x plus 2, and the plus 1 also has to multiply by the x plus 2. Okay, so all I've done, I'm making sure that the two things in this bracket are both multiplying by everything in this bracket, the x plus 2. So the x times x plus 2 and the 1 times x plus 2. And then basically you have two single brackets to expand, just like we did there, and maybe collect some like terms. So let's have a look. So we've got x times x is x squared, x times plus 2 is plus 2x. So that's that bracket expanded. Now we look at this one, and we have plus 1 times all of that. Well, it's just going to stay the same. 1 times x is x, 1 times 2 is 2. And if you notice, we have two terms in the middle, two x terms that we can collect. Okay, we have plus 2x and we have plus x. So we can collect those together, because we should. 2x plus x is 3x, and we have the plus 2 on the end. And there's our solution, our answer, when we expand those two brackets. Okay, this is an expression, it's not an equation. We can't solve it, it's not equals something and then we're able to solve it, although we will be moving towards that in future videos. Okay, we call this a quadratic expression. Quadratic expression. Now the reason it's called a quadratic expression for now is because it has an x squared term, or a squared term, no other higher power. So any expression that has a squared term in it, it doesn't have to have an x term or a number, but it has to have an x squared and no other higher power than 2, then we call it quadratic. Okay, and we'll look at those in a bit more detail later on. This video is just about expanding these double brackets, but our solution is a quadratic expression. It's worth knowing that. Okay, and expanding this single bracket, this is a linear expression because it just has an x. Let's look at another example. Expand. So let's do 2x minus 1. So we'll put a negative in there for a change, and we'll have x plus 5. Okay, so everything in this second bracket, this x plus 5, must be multiplied by everything outside it, which is the 2x and the minus 1. So we break this up. So we do 2x multiplied by x plus 5, and then the minus 1 multiplied by x plus 5. Okay, so I'm making sure that everything in this bracket is multiplied by everything outside it, which is two things. the 2x and the minus 1. So let's do that. This bracket first. 2x times x, 2x squared, 2x times plus 5 plus 10x, and I've expanded that bracket. Let me expand this one. We've got minus 1 times x, that's just minus x, okay, because there's like 1x there, isn't it? And minus, if there's no sign, it means positive, remember? So a negative times a positive is a negative. 1 times x, x. Okay, negative times a positive, negative. 1 times 5, 5. And again, we have two terms in the middle, two x terms that we can collect together. So I put bubbles around them so they stand out. Make sure you include the sign inside the bubble. It's part of the x, okay? Don't chop it off. 2x squared plus 10x, take away x, is plus 9x. And we got the minus 5 on the end. And again, another quadratic, typical quadratic expression, because it's got an x squared too. It doesn't matter if those two are there, they just happen to be there. But a typical quadratic expression is a squared term, a term to the power of 1, and a number on its own. Okay, a constant. Let's look at one more. I have to move my page up. Okay. Example 3. Okay, expand. That's the key word. Let's have a look. Let's have 3x minus 4, and we'll have a number in front of this x as well. We'll have a coefficient in front of this x. We'll have 5x minus 2. So we've got two negatives this time, and I've got a coefficient in front of both of the x's in both brackets. Okay, so we need to make sure everything in this bracket is multiplied by everything outside. So that's the 3x and the minus 4. So we break this up, we write the 3x, and we have to multiply that by the 5x minus 2, and then the minus 4 also has to multiply by the 5x minus 2. Okay? Now we work it out. 3x times 5x. 3 times 5, 15. X times x, x squared. 3x times minus 2. Well, a plus times a minus is a minus. 3x times 2 is 6x. Remember I said, break it down, it makes it much easier. Minus times a plus is a minus, or negative times positive is negative. 4 times 5x, 20x. Negative times a negative. Right, a minus times a minus is a plus. Know your rules. 4 times 2 is 8. So break it up, much easier. Have I got some x terms to collect together? Yes, I have. You usually do. Okay, when you expand in these double brackets, you usually have two x terms in the middle that you have to collect together. So 15x squared, there's no other x squareds. So that's all I've got. Minus 6x minus 20x. Well, basically I'm just looking at minus 6 minus 20. So if I'm on minus 6 and I take away another 20, I'll go down to minus 26. And don't forget the x. Okay? And then we got plus 8 on the end, and there is my quadratic expression. Another typical one. Okay, now that is basically expanding double brackets. There's a little diagram I'm going to show you now to help you make sure you multiply everything in here by everything in here. I do like writing it out like this because I think it makes sure you don't miss these minus signs. Okay, I call this the second bracket twice method really, because we write the second bracket twice and split the first one up, and then we multiply it. But there's a nice little diagram you could also use. So if I write this one again, 3x minus 4, 5x minus 2, and I'm going to change to my red pen. Now, so like I said before, everything in this bracket, the 5x and the minus 2, has to be multiplied by both the 3x and the minus 4. So we can just do some little curved lines here to say that the 3x must be multiplied by the 5x, and also the 3x must be multiplied by the minus 2, and the minus 4 must be multiplied by the 5x, and the minus 4 must be multiplied by the minus 2. Now, this is a nice diagram to remind you to times both those things by the 3x and both those terms by the minus 4. But be careful you don't ignore those signs. This is why I prefer writing this bracket twice and splitting the first one up, because you can see the sign when you come to multiply it out, and hopefully you won't forget it. Because when you multiply with a negative outside, remember it changes the signs of all the terms inside the bracket. So that 5x became a negative number of x's, and the minus 2 became positive. Okay, when we times it by minus 4. Okay, so you can use this to help you do that. So if I was using this, we would do 3x times 5x. So you could do that separately. 3x times 5x is 15x squared. 3x times minus 2 is minus 6x. Minus 4 times 5x is minus 20x. And minus 4 times minus 2 is plus 8. And so we've got the same situation. We would write those out. 15x squared minus 6x minus 20x plus 8, and then collect our x's, and obviously we're going to get the same answer as we had to the left, like so. So this is an alternative method, okay, using this diagram, but you have to be very careful that you don't miss those signs. A common mistake here, some people would go 4 times 2 is 8 and miss the minuses, whereas doing it this way and the other examples that I've done above, writing the second bracket twice, is far safer. Okay, hope that helps. Thank you very much.